Ever since I was a young wee laddie, I've really enjoyed making lists and ordering things. Not exactly sure why that is. I guess it's just some sort of really cool personality quirk. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I made a definitive 10 levels ranking video of famous guitarists that went down surprisingly well, actually. Despite the curious folk arguing that Billy Gibbons should be ranked alongside John Petrucci. So, I thought I'd be a brave soul and try to implement the same format onto a single monumental ranking of metal bands. What could possibly go wrong, eh? The ranks in this video should be a little bit more clear than the ones in the guitarist video, as I know a lot of people will just inevitably skip the intro and just ignore all the context. But just to be clear, in terms of measuring success, I generally use record sales data and Spotify monthly listeners as a rough metric. I know it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than just guessing. Now, as always, this video isn't to be taken too seriously. It's mainly just to appease myself and have a bit of fun. But by all means, I would love to hear your input in the comments down below. And please remember, it's absolutely impossible to include every band ever in this video, okay? And I no doubt missed a bunch of your favorites, so apologies in advance, but alas, I'm only human. Cheers, guys, enjoy the video, and I shall see you again very soon. Disgraced bands. First up, we have bands who have been either universally or very widely disgraced due to the actions of the band's key member. These cases range from straight-up cold-blooded murder to recurring cases of physical abuse to incredibly distasteful, warmongering behavior, to incidents that are just too horrific to recite here on a humble music entertainment channel. Whether or not you can separate the art from the artist and let these incidents dissuade you from still listening to their work is up to the individual. Some people might say that it's not a problem if the artist has paid their dues and repented, and others will say that such actions can tarnish an artist's work forever. What do you think? I'm actually super curious to hear your thoughts. Bands in this category include Lost Prophets, Burzum, Dissection, As I Lay Dying, Disturbed, and Vector. Level 2, universally panned. On a lighter note now, we have bands who are very widely regarded as being, well, not particularly good, to say the least. Whether it's simply due to extreme lack of quality and artistic integrity in the music, or due to the unprecedented lack of self-awareness, these infamous artists are renowned as some of the worst metal bands to ever make a name for themselves. Absolutely no judgment though if any of your favourite bands are in this list. Well, maybe just a little bit. Bands in this category include Psychosexual, 6 Feet Under, Hollywood Undead, Crazy Town, Warrant, Kid Rock, Nitro, Wicked Wisdom, Winger, and Trapped. Level 3, niche legends. Next up, we have bands who haven't necessarily been super successful in the grand scheme of things, but have done well within their respective genres and are very highly respected. Either these bands have somewhat of a niche appeal due to the music they play, or they just simply haven't been able to follow through with the larger success of some of their more well-known peers. If you prefer your metal true and untainted by obvious commercial pursuits, then I have a strong hunch your favourite bands are probably in this category. Bands in this category include Saxon, Flesh God Apocalypse, Coroner, Haken, Satyricon, Obituary, Akakoki, Forbidden, Twilight Force, Entombed, Nile, Infant Annihilator, Dying Fetus, Enslaved, Paradise Lost, Dark Tranquillity, Soilwork, My Dying Bride, Savatage, God Forbid, Decapitated, Scar Symmetry, Voivod, The Black Dahlia Murder, Obscura, Cattle Decapitation, I Hate God, Cacophony, Cryotopsy, Galnerius, Maguire, Bolt Thrower, and Deathspell Omega. Level 4, Future Legends. Now, as much as we all love our classic metal here on my channel, it's super important not to forget the newer wave of bands keeping heavy guitar music alive and bringing it to a fresh, new audience. It's integral to remember our favourite classic bands will unfortunately not be around forever, and eventually the torches will need to be passed. What's great about this category too is that it's not just all metalcore like you might expect, but there's exciting bands from literally all of the big subgenres making waves right now, from super campy Euro power metal all the way to artsy progressive death metal. Bands in this category include Spiritbox, Lorna Shore, Slaughter to Prevail, Poppy, Ice Nine Kills, Disembodied Tyrant, Blood Incantation, Baby Metal, Falling in Reverse, Electric Callboy, Powerwolf, Archspire, Imperial Triumphant, Beast in Black, Loathe, Noctiluce, and Shadow of Intent. Level 5, Modern Legends. Next up, we have the most iconic and successful bands of the modern era, who have been around long enough to cement themselves in the Metal Hall of Fame, but haven't quite yet made it to the real upper echelons of those super mythical artists. The majority of these bands enjoyed the height of their fame in the 2000s or early 2010s, so if you're around my age, then chances are a bunch of your favourite bands are probably in this category. And yeah, I know it's kind of funny referring to bands 25 plus years old as modern, but in my opinion, it takes at least 2 decades of substantial success for an artist to be really classified as a bona fide legend. Bands in this category include Architects, Killswitch Engage, Trivium, Arch Enemy, Children of Bodom, Devin Townsend, Gojira, Machine Head, In Flames, Mastodon, Lamb of God, All That Remains, Dragon Force, Sylosis, Amon Amarth, Behemoth, Carnival, Parkway Drive, Tesseract, Animals as Leaders, and Suicide Silence. Level 6, Cult Legends. Basically any classic, iconic metal band that sits between the previous categories and the heavy hitters that come later belongs here in Cult Legends. All of these bands are pretty much as legendary and as successful as you can possibly get without crossing over into the metal mainstream with the big players. Bands in this category include Dio, Rhapsody, Sepultura, Emperor, Cannibal Corpse, Angra, Dark Throne, Fear Factory, Blind Guardian, Anthrax, Morbid Angel, Dimmu Borgir, Testament, Cradle of Filth, Carcass, Opeth, Creator, Candlemass, Symphony X, Exodus, Nevermore, Electric Wizard, Accept, Manowar, Merciful Fate, and King Diamond. So I definitely struggled to decide which order the next 2 categories should be in. I really couldn't decide whether there's more merit in innovating and defining a genre, or in refining and bringing a genre to a much wider audience. There's definitely merit to both sides, and you could totally argue either way. In the end, I went for innovating over commercializing, but to be honest, take it with a pinch of salt and just treat them as the same level. It doesn't really matter. Level 7, Commercial Legends. The bands in this category are the real behemoths of the metal world. The commercial juggernauts who have sold more records, streamed more streams, and filled more stadium seats than all others. Minus some of the very few even further up this list. I know many of the more cynical folk among you sneer at more commercial bands, but I think it's important to remember that massively successful bands are usually that successful for a reason. Sure, in many cases the music may be more deliberately commercial with the intent of casting a wider net as possible, but when a band truly connects and resonates with that many people, surely they must be doing something right. Just as it takes a great amount of skill to write technical, progressive music, it also takes a great amount of skill to write music which has the ability to reach and connect with millions and millions of people. Bands in this category include Ozzy Osbourne, System of a Down, Linkin Park, Megadeth, Rammstein, Def Leppard, Slayer, Avenged Sevenfold, Sabaton, Evanescence, Tool, Limp Bizkit, Deftones, Ghost, Five Finger Death Punch, Typo Negative, Alice in Chains, and Creed. Level 8, the Trailblazers. This next category, the Trailblazers, are notable bands who either invented or overwhelmingly defined their genre and played a big part in evolving metal. The genre certainly wouldn't be where it is now without this very specific selection of bands who helped to define and evolve it along the way. And in some cases, it's not necessarily the bands who were the very first to play a particular sound, or even the ones who were best at it, but the very first to really nail the implementation and basically become synonymous with that genre's beginnings. Bands in this category include Motorhead, Dream Theater, Pantera, Bathory, Slipknot, Death, Halloween, Meshuggah, Periphery, Korn, Bring Me the Horizon, Necrophagist, At the Gates, Motley Crue, Nightwish, Napalm Death, and suffocation. Level 9, the Untouchables. I'm sure you've used your immense powers of deduction to work out which very obvious bands are left. So even though these following 3 bands could very well belong in both of the previous 2 categories as well, they're definitely powerful enough that they really do require their own lovely little label. Metallica, Iron Maiden, and Judas Priest, of course, the 3 unparalleled titans of classic metal. Besides one other band which we've yet to mention, Metallica and Maiden are at such a stratospherically high level of legend and so culturally significant that their bands are pretty much synonymous with the genre, just as much as the devil horns, loud guitars, and pointy logos are. Even though Judas Priest might be a bit behind in terms of overall influence and significance, and way behind in terms of commercial success, in my opinion, no other band on earth really embodies the pure spirit of good old heavy metal like Priest does. And while Metallica and Maiden have faltered many times along the way, perhaps just simply becoming too big, Priest have always stuck to their guns and been remarkably consistent, even to this day. Apologies to the more religious folk among you, but I guess the best comparison I can make is that Judas Priest is the pure, unsullied Virgin Mary of the metal world. Level 10. Those Budami boys. Well, it was probably blindingly obvious what this level was going to be. Honestly, it's fucking insane to me that the original innovators of the entire genre are still one of the best to ever do it. And yeah, even though some elements of their music are a little dated now, when you think about it, metal hasn't really come all that far considering the fact there's been over half a century to iterate on it. Still some of the best riffs, songs, and rhythm section playing ever put to record. Sabbath will always be the masters. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Alright mate, do that, then do that. Nice one.